Some exciting news breaking in Ottawa. Last week, after Justin Trudeau was forced, absolutely forced, to remove the carbon tax on heating oil in Atlantic Canada because his polling numbers are in the toilet there, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has just in the House of Commons forced a huge, major vote and debate on removing the carbon tax on all forms of home heating, particularly given that it's starting to get really cold outside. So this vote is going to happen on Monday. Right now, Conservatives are in the House of Commons. I'll be there after this video as well. We are debating and we are pressing the government to remove the carbon tax on all forms of heating. Given that Trudeau's flip-flop last week was highly divisive, it was one of these moves to pit regions against each other in the country. But we know that Canadians are onto Trudeau and that Canadians are bigger and stronger than that. There's not a lot of attention in mainstream media on what's happening in Ottawa right now. So I've broken it down for you, including links to the motion, what's going on. The link to this article is in the video description. I ask you guys know that Google as well is starting their news ban in just a few weeks. Please click on this. Please click subscribe. Please read it. It allows me to directly communicate with you on really important issues like this while getting around Justin Trudeau's censorship bills, because while he's flip-flopping and dividing the country, he's also trying to prevent you from getting information about these things. So this is why I'm writing to you. The link, please read this. Most importantly, please click subscribe. It's free. It will take you 1 second and it allows me to stay in touch with you. So what's going on? So as I said, Trudeau last week, he had to flip-flop under intense pressure in one of his strongholds in the country in Atlantic Canada, because Pierre Poilievre has been campaigning to remove the carbon tax writ large. He had to do a bit of an about face, but he didn't do it for everybody in the country. He didn't do it for natural gas. He's doing this divisive tactic that needs to be stopped. So we have forced this vote in the House of Commons. Oftentimes you guys will say, like, come on, Conservatives, do something. Well, we've done something. And now we're putting pressure on the Liberals NDP coalition partner, many of whom represent ridings in rural parts of the country that are dependent on carbon-based fuels to heat their homes. And they should support this. In this article, if you've got somebody who you're talking to, or if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, well, what about climate action, let's say, right? Here's the thing, guys. The carbon tax in Canada doesn't work. It does not work, right? And that's why the Liberals and the NDP, anybody who cares about climate change, if you're talking to somebody who's like, well, what about climate change? It doesn't work. And why doesn't it work? You know why it doesn't work. Everybody in Canada knows why it doesn't work. Because if you are forced to fill up your car, or if you're using carbon fuel to heat your home, and there's no alternative like public transit or any other fuel to heat your home in the cold of winter, what happens? You still have to buy that product, right? So carbon tax doesn't shift consumer behavior when there's nothing to shift it to. The other thing is, in debate, I've been listening to debate all morning on this motion that Pierre Poilievre forced, and the Liberals are saying things like, well, if people could afford alternative, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, guys, we're in the middle of an inflationary crisis. People can't even afford to eat. People are being forced to choose between heating and eating. This is why the carbon tax has to go. This is why the carbon tax doesn't work in Canada. And for people who care about climate change, guys, if we're dogmatically adhering to this policy, which doesn't work, it means that we're never going to build out things. I know there's a lot of you who care about, like, I would like to have better public transit in my community. I've been advocating for that for years. But how are we going to get those things if the government is spending hundreds of billions or millions of dollars to administer this tax? If people like you are paying all of these increased costs for nothing? You can't afford to go out and buy. This one Liberal was like, oh, well, people should be, like, it was like one of these let them eat cakes moments. Well, people should be buying these alternatives. And it's like, buddy, people can't afford to buy groceries right now. What are you talking about? Like, do you think everybody has like $30,000, $50,000, $60,000 to just go buy a Prius or something? Come, give your head a shake. The Liberals have done nothing to build up the infrastructure that it would be needed to, like, address some of these issues. So the carbon tax doesn't work. And that's part of why Conservatives have moved this motion today. You guys, for over a year, the Conservative Party of Canada has been relentlessly pushing this issue. And Justin Trudeau had to capitulate last week. Why? Because every Canadian knows this simple fact. The carbon tax doesn't work and it's bankrupting Canadians, right? So now on Monday, Liberals and the NDP will have an opportunity to do the right thing and remove the carbon tax on all forms of heating as a start. Pierre Poilievre has gone one step further too. He said, look, this is a really reasonable compromise, right? This is a really reasonable compromise. Why don't we just, let's do away with this. And you know what, Justin Trudeau, if you want to campaign on a carbon tax, let's go to an election. Let's do it. Let's see what Canadians have to say about that. So, guys, I beg of you, I'm trying to write to you as much as possible. There's a whole bunch of links in this article. The link to this is in the video description. Help me keep in touch with you and keep you apprised of what's going on in the House of Commons and avoid Justin Trudeau's media bans through Bill C-18 and C-11 by clicking subscribe. It'll take you no time at all. It is free and it allows me to stay in touch. This is an important vote, guys. This is a super important historic vote. We have used procedure to force it. It's going to happen on Monday. I'm going to be coming to you. Stay subscribed to this channel because there's going to be a lot of updates on this debate. But I just want to say, look, Justin Trudeau had to capitulate once already. Let's keep the pressure up because we all know that we're on the right track, that this motion is the right thing for Canadians in so many different ways. And I outline why in this article. The link is in the video description. Stay tuned. I will be coming to you later today with more on this as well over the weekend. And yeah, Pierre did threaten an election over this. Working hard for you in Ottawa. Have a great day.